Somebody's getting fired.
Safe to say I'm the big.
The largest.
It's stuck in your head though.
Oh, dude, it's so catchy.
It's just like the one they did last year.
The Burger King one?
No, the Wingstop one.
I don't know if I remember that.
All right, we'll get to it real quick.
Let's do it.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Presented by Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 and use the promo code WELCOME to Light Years. Tommy, can't say I'm surprised. The Warriors lost game 2. No Steph. They stole game 1. I think on aggregate, this is kind of what we expected. That said, logic and having to consume the game for 2.5 hours are not the same thing. And fuck, man, it's a rough watch without number 30. It's a rough watch without number 30.
Yeah, I mean, it always has been. You know, I save maybe the KD years, and even then, it was never the prettiest. They would kind of win ugly. But yeah, just from the opening tip, really, it felt like, and this is going to sound insane, but it felt like when Jaden made that first possession of the game, Draymond kind of had Randall boxed up, kicks it out to Jaden, and he makes that first 3. I was like, here we go. You know, you're hoping that maybe you catch another cold shooting night and you can kind of keep the game close, but it never really was. They got it up to 13-0 pretty quickly, and it was an uphill battle from there. And especially without Steph, this team is not made to come from behind. That's for goddamn sure.
No, it's not. And, Steve, I think my overall theme for tonight was Steve was exploring. He knew he kind of had a game to play with. He knows he's not getting Steph back for game 3 or 4 either.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if we're logical about it, he's saying, let's be 2-2 at worst.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew he had a game to play with. He wanted to experiment with every lineup combination. I think he found some things that worked. So I'm going to say, I don't want to say moral victory because it sounds dumb, but like the goal he was trying to accomplish of let's try everything and let's see what actually gives us some success versus Minnesota. He got that a little bit tonight. But with that said, let's talk the starting lineup for 1 second. Starting Quentin Post. I get it. He's trying to get more shooting out there, pull Gobert out of the paint. You got Buddy, you got Post. Those are your 2 best shooters without Steph Curry. Yeah. It makes sense on paper, but I don't know if we're going to see Post again the rest of the series, to be honest with you, because my take while watching it is like he can really shoot the ball. I love the fire. For a second-round pick, he's an objective A, not just a second, a late second. He's an objective A+. He's so not ready for this level of basketball, not ready for the attention to detail, the physicality. Defensively, he's just not there. There's a reason playoffs kind of devolve into small ball, and I think good idea, but he played 3 minutes tonight, and we'll see if he sees the floor in game 3 or 4. If he does, I think it's going to be in one of those situations where they're up and they want to throw him out there to see if he can catch a little fire and hit a couple threes, like most Spate style.
Shout out Warriors legend. Yeah, I mean, I thought not only that, he definitely didn't look ready. And there were moments in the Houston series where he looked okay, he looked ready. But what a lot of teams have done to him is they just put a wing on him when we're on offense. So they really don't have to – they're not putting a big man on him where the big might be in drop. They put a wing-size guy on him, and they just kind of switch every action he's in. They're not worried about him posting anybody up. And then I thought the staff kind of galaxy-brained it a little bit with making him guard Jaden instead of having him just guard Gobert and stay in the paint. They put Jimmy on Gobert to start and then Post on Jaden. And that was the first 3 of the game. He sinks because that's just what he's used to doing. When a guy drives, he wants to go rebound, and that leads to a wide open 3. So maybe we see him the rest of the series, but goddamn, it certainly did not look good tonight. And I mean, I doubt we won't see that starting 5 again. We might see him again, but I doubt we see exact 5 on the floor together ever again. I mean, obviously, I think we're definitely going to see Kuminga a lot more, as we should.
Yeah. So let's get to that. Get to that. We're talking about it. Like the big take from tonight's game was Steve was like, I'm playing everyone. I'm seeing what I have. I'm seeing who might be a good matchup against this Minnesota team. And I think the 2 big winners for me tonight were Kuminga and TJD. Mm-hmm. Ironic, because they've been like 2 biggest doghouse players for the last 2 months, I guess, something like that. But like they looked phenomenal tonight. And to me, it was just using their athleticism was noticeable, was a necessary ingredient.
Yeah, and I think you got to kind of try to keep who you are, like as a team. Like you don't want to totally get rid of your identity just
Sure.
because Steph is out. You got to keep some of those like bones and like the foundation of that. But at the same time, you do have to kind of go a little bit more traditional. And for an NBA team, they are not very athletic, so you probably have to lean into that athleticism a little bit more than you'd regularly want to, and just hope you can kind of play more of a traditional modern style of basketball instead of kind of the beautiful game stuff that we're used to seeing. Because without Steph, like the beautiful game stuff, it doesn't totally go out the window. They can still do it. They still have enough smart passers, smart cutters, smart players, but you're not going to be able to do it at the level that you want to do it at.
Yeah, and I thought the thing that stood out to me was Jimmy was playmaking a little bit there. Draymond's always going to be a good passer. And it was a lot of just trying to drive and kick and get Gobert rotating and take advantage of the fact that for some reason, the most accomplished defender of this generation moves like me, like I don't, it's, I hate devolving every Wolves conversation to this, but it legitimately annoys me that he's won 4 defensive players of the year because both times the Warriors went on a run, it was by attacking his weaknesses.
Uh-huh.
And both times the Wolves stopped those runs, it was by taking him off the court. Like,
yeah,
it was almost that simple.
No, 100% it was. And it's funny, like if you don't really have anybody who can like kill drop coverage, Rudy can look really good. He can look really good for stretches. But as soon as you kind of put like a real speed lineup out there where he has to move his feet and he has to get out to the perimeter, he looks awful. I mean, we saw it when Kuminga caught baseline on him, little stutter rip, and then just goes and dunks it on him. And like Kuminga's obviously been very up and down this year, and a lot of his drives can look like they're aimless, and a lot of the times it can look like that. But like, I don't know, man. A defensive player of the year shouldn't look like that against a guy who's been floundering for all intents and purposes for the last couple months.
And a guy that his only weapon is driving.
Right.
Like he can hit a shot. He hit a 3 tonight. He hit a big 3 in game 7.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not ever going to shoot the outside shot enough that you're like worried that he's going to have a Steph Curry game or even like a Buddy Hield game from deep, like, you guard him against the drive. So that's what makes it even more egregious because there's this narrative with Gobert that, okay, well, he can't guard like the Steph Currys of the world in space, but what big man can? I mean, I can name a couple, but
Anthony Davis, that's about it.
Sure. Or I can name like 15 that at least do better than Rudy, but that's beside the point. The point is, there's this idea that, okay, well, so he can't guard great shooters in space, but what he can do is if you're driving, he's going to take it away. I don't even think that's true, to be honest with you. It's like you said, if they hold their shape and he gets to play off and just play with his hands in the air big, yeah, he has a 10-foot standing reach. That's a problem, right? But if you get him in any sort of movement, which ironically, like that's Steve Kerr's thing, swing, catch Rudy rotating, and then use your athleticism to beat him. I'm not going to say it's as effective as putting him in a high pick and roll against Steph because nothing's as effective as that, but it's still fucking effective,
Yeah.
And that's like, this was the first game I've seen Kuminga kind of just like go and play with some force and take advantage of his athleticism. And I'm happy. I'm happy he kind of like cleared his head and just realized like, if I just use my physical tools, I can do something positive and I can get on the floor. But at least part of it's Gobert, which is just, it's such a damning indictment for a guy who's a 4-time defensive player of the year. Like, fuck out of here.
It's ridiculous, man. But I don't want to devolve into that right now. I think we obviously should focus on Kuminga. It's funny. Like when he makes his first couple of shots, like the effort makes more sense. His attention to detail makes more sense, and all this stuff kind of follows. And the reason that he hasn't been playing, it has nothing to do with his ability to score. Everybody knows he can score. It's not always going to be the prettiest or the most efficient, but the guy can get buckets. Like I don't think any of us have ever been in denial about that, especially when he's going. And
like more so than like Moody and Pods on just the effortlessness. Like, yeah, he's a more natural scorer than both those guys, for example.
100%. Like Pods and Moody go through stretches where it's like, I don't know if these guys are ever going to make a shot again. Serious. Moody hasn't made one in 3 games. I mean, well, I guess we'll get to him later, but good God. But no, Kuminga, like, if he just does the effort stuff, if he just rebounds, if he just defends with enough attention to detail, he's never going to be, at least not at this stage of his career, he's never going to be a super instinctual defender. He's not going to make the Draymond or Jimmy or Andre style plays with their hands or beating people to the spot. He's not going to do that. But if he can just stay locked in, he can do a good enough job on a guy like Ant to where he's just not absolutely killing you. He can contain him enough, especially on the ball. So it's always going to come back to that. But all that being said, they absolutely need him as long as Steph is out. And maybe he can even provide a little bit of a punch if they can extend the series enough and Steph gets back. But they're going to need him because they were lucky to score 93 tonight. And they can shoot the ball better from the perimeter. But the offense is going to be abysmal. It's going to come down to the Warriors' ability to hold the opponent under 100. So, yeah, but they need the kid. Like, they need him to play like he did tonight, and it'll give them a chance to win one of these next 2 games.
I think my other big, the other big thing people have been commenting to me about and kind of take is Jimmy. I don't think he played a poor game, but he certainly didn't play a playoff Jimmy takeover type of game. Like, he kind of played like a role player most of the night. I'm going to be honest. He played very smart, played good team defense. He scored in the flow, 17 points, but at no point did he really try to take over.
18 in the flow.
and 17 to be clear. But passed the ball well, like did all that stuff. But like, I mean, everyone's a little disappointed because there's this expectation that, Steph's out, playoff Jimmy going for 40, that sort of thing. If you compound it with the fact that the last couple games he's looked a little limited, are you concerned? Like, do you think he can still reach that level at this point? I'm just curious where your head's at with him.
Oh, I mean, I'm definitely concerned, but I don't think he's obviously not who he was just in general when he's 30, because nobody is. He doesn't have necessarily the same physical pop all the time. But we did see what he looked like against the Clippers, and we did see what he looked like against Memphis, and even game 1 of Houston before he took that nasty fall in game 2. And, people can pull it up. Slater tweeted a video of Steve Kerr right after Jimmy came back from injury, I think game 3 or game 4 against the Rockets. Steve said, look, if this was the regular season, he'd be out a week or 2. But it's the playoffs and it's Jimmy Butler, so he's going to play. He's clearly still hobbled. And it's not so much on defense, because if you think about a glute injury, right, it's really going to hurt when you accelerate forward. Not dissimilar from a hamstring, right? But it's a bruise versus a muscle pull. So if you watch him when he's trying to get downhill offensively, he has no burst to get by anybody. When he's trying to close out to shooters, the effort looks awful. And that's just not Jimmy Butler. Like, that's not the type of player that he is. So I think he's clearly very hampered by the injury. And it's not as big of a deal when you have Steph. You'd obviously still like a little bit more offensive punch from him. And he can do more. Look, he can shoot a lot of those 14-footers he's getting where he's open, and then he jump stops and he pivots and he kicks it back out. Like, he needs to be more aggressive when he finds space. But I think there's also a mental adjustment for him of he's used to being able to body a guy, get contact, and not worry about falling. He's clearly worried about that right now. It's in the back of his head. And so when he does have slivers of space, he just kind of has to take them and shoot the ball instead of like searching for a better shot. Because with this team, you're probably not finding a better one than a semi-contested Jimmy Butler 12-footer.
Yeah. All this points to more reason that they need to play Kuminga. And we didn't even touch on TJD, but it's just like, if he's not going to your point, explode, use burst, get to the rim, if he's not capable of doing it with the amount of consistency and force that we've seen him do in the past, you're going to have to find other ways to score the ball.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, it sucks, but like, we talked about it when he got injured, talked about the entire way. Like, it's just unfortunate is really what it is at this point. I still think he has it in him to dial it back a little bit, but like, you can see it's also pain tolerance there. There's a level of, if they're in a close game, do I think he pushes through it and like plays through the pain at the highest level? Probably, because that's the kind of guy he is. That's exactly what he did in that game 4 against Houston.
Right. That
rebound where he skied in, almost identical to the same spot on the floor in which he got injured. But that's muscle memory taking over. That's, I want to win right now and injury be damned. That sort of like adrenaline rush probably doesn't come in a game where you're down 20 points the entire way. When you're down 20 points, you're like, let's see what I can do to pick this team apart. But what I really don't want is to just re-aggravate an injury.
Yeah, I think one of the keys to getting, and I think we'll get to this a little bit later. One of the keys to getting a win without Steph will be,
Fake
getting.
shooting.
I mean, fake shooting, obviously, but I think also getting the game to a point where it's close enough in the last 6 minutes to where Jimmy's like, all right, I'm going to muster up whatever I have left in the tank to go win this thing. Right. I think it's basically going to come down to that. Then it's going to be like, does he have enough to close out the game? Is he okay with taking a fall or two and maybe getting a little bit more injured, but you win the basketball game? Right. But tonight was not a game like that. So I think you never want to say it in a playoff game, but he definitely packed it in a certain sense. He wasn't going to put himself in harm's way already being injured. And I don't love that. I'm not going to sit here and say oh, I wish he was doing that. But at the same time, I do understand the approach because you do have to play the long game over the course of this series with Steph being out.
It is unfortunately human nature. And yeah, to your point, such a terrible start to the game. That's what he's going to do. I mean, I would like to point out the fact that, you played the over. You bought into the propaganda. You bought into the Jimmy Butler propaganda. Nobody told you he was washed. Nah.
I was trying to whiz cast it. You know what I mean? I was just trying to make it happen through pure will and heart.
Yeah, no, I get it. So yeah, you played the Jimmy Moore on 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I'm actually tempted to play the Jimmy Moore on Prize Picks next game. I can't determine if next game or Sunday's game is going to be the Jimmy, we're in a tight one and I'm going to make sure we win this game. But I'm leaning the next one. I'm definitely leaning the next one being that big Jimmy game.
Yeah.
It's fun, man. It's fun. He's a very fun player to ride with. I'll put it that way. Even if tonight was, and we understand the injury is wearing him. You're getting a little less consistency with the injury. He is a very fun player to ride with because he plays so hard. He's such a dog,
Uh-huh. Yeah, I do think he's giving mostly everything he has in terms of effort. It's just not there physically for him. But yeah, I was trying to will this into existence, but clearly it didn't happen tonight. I think all the eggs are probably going in the basket for game 3.
I get it, guys. I get it. It's okay. I'm not gonna, it's not like you came out here betting, putting it all on a Pat Spencer over. Although I would have respected that too.
Oh my God.
I would respect that too. Guys, springtime is here. Baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players in your Prize Picks lineup. And with the basketball playoff push here, now is the time to join Prize Picks, the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. On Prize Picks, you can mix and match player projections from your favorite sports, combine your favorite baseball players with players from basketball, hockey, esports. We get to French Open season tennis. You get the U.S. Open, golf, whatever it may be. Whatever it is, you just play more or less on 2 player stats, and you have a chance to win. Guys, download the app today. Use the code LIGHTYEARS and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5. That's code LIGHTYEARS. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5. Prize Picks, run your game.
Light Years Podcast. We're also brought to you by LinkedIn. As a small business owner, you don't have the luxury of clocking out early. Your business is on your mind 24/7. So when you're hiring, you need a partner that grinds just as hard as you do. That hiring partner is LinkedIn Jobs. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates that you can manage all in one place. Either post your job for free or pay to promote. Promoted jobs get 3 times more qualified applicants. At the end of the day, the most important thing to your small business is the quality of the candidates. And with LinkedIn, you can feel confident you're getting the best. Find out why more than 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring today. Find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lightyears. That is linkedin.com/lightyears to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay. By the way, Steve Kerr just came out and basically said what you and I were saying, which is he used this game as almost an experiment to see what he had, lineup wise, rotation wise. I mean, it didn't take a genius to see that that's the route he's going to go with Steph being gone for a couple games. My question for you, since we're 1-1, and I think big picture 1-1, no Steph out of Minnesota is a good place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they go in game 3? Because they're going to have to win at least 1 without Steph. I think our best case scenario is Steph is back for game 5. I don't really want to get into the speculation game, but I think realistically it might be more like game 6, game 7. And they're going to have to be able to win a game without Steph at minimum. 2 would be amazing. Win 2 without Steph, I'm celebrating. I feel great about their chances to have a deep run because that means he doesn't have to rush the hammy. But they're going to have to win at least 1. So with that said, with what you saw tonight, with the hours of film you've been grinding.
Thomas Russillo.
What do you think they need to do in game 3? Lineups, tactics, whatever it may be. Just tell me your first thought.
Well, I think first of all, Steve used this as a feel-out game to also not give anything away to Minnesota. I think he thought if they play badly again, we can steal it regardless. But he played 14 guys because he didn't. Steve is very, very good. You can almost guarantee with Steve, and he did it in game 3 against Houston. You can almost guarantee with him if somebody's out over the course of a playoff series, he can scheme it up well enough for one game to where he can get you a W almost regardless of who's on the floor. You obviously need a baseline of talent. So I think they're going to put kind of all the eggs in the basket for game 3, because then game 4, Minnesota's going to counter. And even if you lose, you're going back to Minnesota 2-2. But I think the adjustment will be, I don't think we see post much next game, if at all. Maybe one stand. I think they're going to go smaller and faster and try to essentially what we saw when they made runs tonight is make Rudy really work and either render him useless or just take advantage of the fact that he can't keep up with their speed. I think that's the path. I think it has to be because they're not going to have the size advantage and they don't have a skill advantage either. So you kind of just have to go with your fastest, most athletic, most skilled guys. So I think it has to be Kuminga and Trayce. I think you have to go with both. I would like to see more Gee. Gary looks kind of broken, but Moody does too. So there's going to be a decision there between those two guys, between GP and Moody. I don't know how much Moody we'll see for the rest of the series. But yeah, I think it's to go small and fast. I think that's kind of what they have to roll with in game 3.
So who starts in the front court? Obviously Jimmy and Draymond. Who's the third guy?
I think you go Kuminga. I think you reward him for a good game. Kerr started him in game 3 of the last series. I think he probably goes with something similar here. And then you go Pods and Buddy.
Okay. So I was going to be my second question because I agree with you. I think Kuminga starts. I think Trayce is the first big off the bench to continue attacking it. Or maybe Trayce, you wait until, because what's going to happen is Rudy's going to hit the bench at some point in the first quarter. Maybe you want to save Trayce's first run for when Rudy goes back in the second quarter. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you. Attack Gobert with athleticism and speed. You can't attack him with shooting. You don't have enough shooting to attack him with. What you can attack him with is getting out there and run, hit him rotating, and then they do have what they lack in shooting. They have ball handling, so it might be multiple drives and kicks. That's another way to get Gobert out of position. GP2 can handle the ball. Pod's obviously a good ball handler. Jimmy's best skill is ball handling offensively. Draymond's a great ball handler. Even Kuminga can handle the ball a little bit. Everyone they have is other than Buddy Hield is a borderline 3-point shooter, but ball handling is probably their strength at this point. So it's going to be, a little more drive and kick, which to your point, it's not Steve's beautiful game per se that he likes, but it might be the best way to go about it. I don't know that there's a coaching advantage for this. I think you just have to be opportunistic on it. They need one of Pods or Moody to have a 4 to 5 3-pointer game.
Yes.
They're both capable. They've both done it 20 times this season. It feels like a season ago since either of them have done it. It's not been that long for Pods. It might be that long for Moody, to be honest, but they're both capable. They're going to kind of have to ride the hot hands. And yeah, I think that's it. I think you're probably right. I think you probably start Pods and Buddy. I could make a point for starting GP2 because he's a better ball handler and he's better
Buddy?
at forcing.
Yeah. Or overcoming. Really? I don't think they can take Buddy spacing off the floor. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, they're going to at certain points of the game. It's just ugly. But I can make an argument, and I agree with you. You could never get away with this for more than 4 minutes at a time, at best. At least GP2 can force turnovers. Their best form of offense is going to be forcing turnovers, getting out to transition. And maybe that isn't how you start. Maybe that's just everyone deciding to play with, play as hard as they can. But I could see GP2 getting worked into it a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm talking this through. They're not starting Pods, GP2, Kuminga, Jimmy, and Draymond. Sorry,
no chance. That's harem, but that's terrorist basketball.
That's I don't want to see what that looks like in the half court ever.
No.
It's going to end up in. There was a possession where Draymond posted up and did a hook shot, and it wasn't their worst offensive possession, which kind of lets you know where we're at in the half court with this team right now.
The lack of offensive talent is genuinely incredible outside of Steph and a fully healthy Jimmy. But I think one of the keys has to be, obviously they have to turn the ball over less. That was a huge, especially as they were making runs.
That's my other argument for putting a little more ball handling out there. Like what you're going to lack in space. Like there's actually not really a lineup they can throw out there that spaces the floor well in the half court, at least in a traditional sense. Your best case is going to be to what you said, play fast and don't turn the ball over. And you can make an argument just putting players who move the ball, who, know how to handle the ball. You have a better shot at that. I can see you don't believe me as I'm saying this. I don't even know if I believe myself. I'm really trying to talk through solutions for what is a completely imperfect roster situation right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Minnesota made a lot of shots to start that game. And because of that, you're constantly taking the ball out of the net and everything offensively felt stagnant when it was going to be stagnant anyway. But I think they have to run their half-court actions quicker. I think you just need to get this Minnesota team moving because they are big and they are long, but they are not fleet of foot. Like outside
the biggest, the largest.
Safe to say. Way to derail my point. No, but I think you need to get them moving side to side. You need to get them closing out to space. You need to get them covering ground. And that's part of the point of going small. So they have to run those half-court actions quicker. Hopefully you can get some stops and some turnovers like you're saying. Get out into transition. Get them cross-matched and all that good stuff. And then just stop fucking turning the ball over. Like it's always going to be an issue. I was hoping it wouldn't with Jimmy handling more of the ball handling load. But the fact that he can't go by anybody right now for whatever reason, whether he's injured or he's just being passive, that doesn't help the situation either because then he's throwing grenade balls to everybody on the perimeter.
Yeah. So I think if we want to sum it up on a superficial level, play faster, turn the ball over less, as much numbing cream as possible for Jimmy.
Oh my God.
And I don't really know there's a coaching thing. Like I don't even think like locking Pods and Moody in a gym is a solution. You hope the home crowd gets them going. Everyone feels a little better. Pods hits his first shot. Moody hits his first shot. Just the type of thing that gets like a guy who's a roller coaster shooting the ball, having a 3-for-6 night instead of a 1-for-6 night. Like that's it. And I don't know that that's a Steve thing. Like he can give him as much positive reinforcement as possible, but you're just gonna have to ride it. And I think my only other point is if you do get that game where Pods or Moody comes out and they're a little hotter from deep, you coach it like a game 7.
Yes.
You go for the kill. You absolutely cannot waste a game where you get guys who are kind of a roller coaster because you're getting too cute with the big picture, think you could steal 2 games. Go for the kill. Don't even worry about game 4. Worry about game 4 when it's game 4. If you have a shot to just take game 3 without Steph, do it because it's better to get the win on the board. And, it's just better to get the win on the board and see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just as long as Steph is out, that's how you have to approach everything. If you have a chance, if you feel like you're playing well enough, if guys are making shots, you have to treat it like it's a do or die, like win or go home game, more or less. Because in a sense, it is. Like if you don't steal the one that you could steal without Steph, it's absolutely a win or go home situation because the odds that you play well enough again to do that are very slim. And I think the last thing is Draymond needs to be better. I thought his energy was shitty tonight. I thought he was not focused. I thought his attention to detail absolutely fucking sucked. I thought he was listless mentally. He gave up way too many wide open threes in pick and roll situations on closeouts. Bad energy. He obviously gets the stupid fucking technical that could have been a flagrant foul. Like he just needs to be better. It's not like we haven't.
I don't even want to talk about the foul situation. Everyone listening to this knows, but it's like it is massively problematic right now.
Huge. Yeah, I mean, if that was a flagrant 2, he would have been suspended for game 3, and it wasn't a flagrant 2. It should not have been called as one, but it was so stupid. It's just like, dude, for once, have some goddamn self control. And I have been so
or
patient.
self-awareness.
Yeah, or self-awareness. Right. Like, it doesn't matter even what you do at this point. Even if it wasn't intentional, they're going to call it on you. So I've been more patient with Draymond than probably anybody that I know. But if he screws this up while Steph is out with like the situation that they're in, if like he loses them a winnable game with something stupid like that, I will be very close to the end of the road with him. And that's crazy to say after as well as he played in game 7 and game 1, but he can't do this right now. It is all hands on deck. You cannot risk a situation where you can win a game for your own emotional like lack of control. Hashtag therapy works though.
Better health, guys. Goon calls after this. You know what also Draymond needs? Needs some skims. You know what's one of the number one ways that makes me feel better? It's by having underwear that feels comfortable. You want to have that right level of elasticity, comfort, and support. Nothing puts me in a bad mood more than when you have that underwear that kind of always rides up, gives you a wedgie. And Skims, complete opposite of that, complete game changer. Comfortable, perfect elasticity, everything you'd ever want in a pair of underwear, guys. Guys, shop Skims Men at skims.com or Skims stores. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey, select our show on the drop-down menu. Give us a little credit. We appreciate it. We appreciate all you guys' support. Guys, Skims, the official underwear partner of NBA, WNBA, USA Basketball, and most importantly, the Light Years Podcast.
Light Years Podcast. We're brought to you by PXG. The time has come to get some new golf clubs right in the middle of major championship season. And that means one thing, heading over to your local PXG store for a fitting. They make the best golf clubs, period. I got my fitting done down here in Southern California with Megan. She was incredibly helpful. Spent about an hour and a half with me. Got my swing grooved. Got to see some really cool stuff on video with them. They had me try out the Gen 6 irons, which I might go pick up at some point. But they gave me a putter too, which was awesome. They really are some of the best clubs on the market. Like, they help you hit the ball legitimately 20 to 30 yards further. And for, weekend warriors like us, that's what you need sometimes. You just need a little bit extra distance in your game. Length matters. The fastest way to improve your performance on the golf course is with a PXG fitting. PXG fitters are highly trained, incredibly experienced, and have a deep understanding of how to optimize your clubs to get the most out of your swing. So schedule your fitting today. And for a limited time, you can save up to 20% on your entire order. Head over to pxg.com/lightyears. That is pxg.com/lightyears to save up to 20% on your entire order. pxg.com/lightyears. Restrictions apply. See for details.
What's your handicap these days? By the way, we're getting to callers. If you are watching on YouTube, hop over to playback and call in. A few people here already here. I'm going to start moving through people, but I want to know. We're going to play sometime.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I'm in. I'm very happy when I break. If I break 90, I'm incredibly happy. I'm probably right around a 20. I'm like, I'll usually shoot somewhere in the 90s. Sometimes I'm over 100, but it's usually low 90s is where I end up. So I'm not great by any means, but I'm not terrible either. I can swing a club.
Okay. Well, we'll see about that.
Are you not gonna? You're not gonna give what your handicap is right now?
Oh, I was gonna say if I break 100, I'm happy, man. Yeah. I'll put it that way. There's 90 is not an achievable goal for me. I'll put it. That's where I'm at right now.
I'll give you a couple strokes and we'll play for a couple pairs of Skims. How about that?
Yes, we'll play for Skims. There we go. Yeah, it's. I'll hit two in a row that feel good. Be feeling great, and then the meltdown will just be epic. 4 balls lost.
That's when you just shotgun a beer on the next tee, and then you're good.
Well, that doesn't help in any capacity. It makes me feel better, but there's zero chance of balls going straighter after that.
Oh, absolutely.
Gio, what's up, man?
Gio, is your mic working?
Oh. Gio got so disgusted hearing about my handicap that he's like, I'm out of here. All right, we're gonna go with our guy Tachion, who I know has a functional tech setup. Gio, call back in. We'll get you back up here.
Wow, I really appreciate that. I'm glad to know they have better tech support than Gio. Oh my god.
What's up, man?
I don't know what to do with Moody. It's been I don't know what happened because the February stint was just so good, and then the last 5 games has been so bad. It's been 8 points, 3 rebounds on 32% from the field, 35% from. Don't ask me the true shooting. I do not care to do the nerd shit, but that it's the bottom line is that he needs to be better.
I think
This end of the day. Maybe it's the length from the past 2 series. Maybe it's the fact that a lot of
Your internet's literally cutting out with your disgust level, by the way.
God damn it. I don't get it. God damn. I'm so mad that I'm turning into Geo. Jesus Christ. But maybe it's the athleticism that's getting him shook. Maybe, hopefully, some home cooking for the love of God can get him out of his head. But I don't know what to do at this point because this has been.
I don't think it's home cooking.
Shocking.
Tommy, I'm curious your opinion, but like I'm just gonna pull out some numbers for you guys. So in the playoffs, we've played what nine playoff games. These have appeared in all 9. He's shooting 30.7% from 3. And that's not a 1-game thing. Like he really hasn't had. Sorry, tell you about. He's had like 1 game that comes to mind where he shot the ball well from 3, maybe 2 in the Houston series, but it's been a lot of 1 for 4, 0 for 4, like that type of performance. And then if you go back to the regular season, and if you go post Jimmy trade, you know what he shot from 3 since they got Jimmy? 34.4%. So we're talking about 3+ months where he's essentially, and if I blend those two, and I know competition level and all those things, 33% from 3. And to my eye, I don't see anything like particularly different with his shot, but end of the day, like he doesn't really do anything else on offense other than shoot the ball. He's an energy glue guy. If he can't hit shots, like I don't really know what you want to do with him. Like you, Tommy, you were saying like you think Guy might be better than him right now. I don't agree with you, but I can't necessarily argue he's worse either, which is the problem.
Well, I think Guy just brings more size and more. He's just more physical. And he's better. He's a way better passer. He processes the game quicker. He's a better rebounder. Like I can go down the list. Like if Moody's not making threes, he's a 3-and-D guy who can't hit threes. And a lot of his shots right now are not even close. Like the air ball floater in the first half. He's hitting the side of the backboard on threes before it even touches the rim. And I think the most confusing thing to me is like he had a good stint as a rookie in the playoffs against Dallas. He was one of their top 6 guys, and that was a short stint against Dallas. So there's not much to take from that. He was probably one of their top 6 guys against the Lakers in 2023. Like,
I don't think it's a he's shook thing. I don't think it's a like he can't face the. Well, I don't think it's a he's not ready for the moment thing. You know what I'm saying?
He's not ready for this moment. He's not ready.
He might
for
be
this
shook.
moment.
He might be shook because he hasn't hit a shot in 3 months. But
right.
But I think my overarching point that I was curious your guys' take on it is, if he's not hitting shots, he's not actually good enough at anything else to justify being on the floor. Like he plays hard. Guy Santos plays hard. He tries on defense. Guy Santos tries on defense, you know? He crashes the glass. Guy Santos crashes the glass. And of the 3 things I threw out there, Guy's probably better at 2 of them, just like if you isolated the skill than Moses. Like Guy's going to get more rebounds because he's just a little bigger, a little more physical, right? I think they both fight on the glass, but Guy probably gets more than you, right? Yeah, if he's not going to hit shots, I don't know what you do. And I think it's really frustrating in the context of we're in year 4 of these lottery picks. And this really should be the year that they're, and Moses Moody, the idea was never be a star. It was like the hope was by this point he'd be Aaron Nesmith.
Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Hey, tried to tell you guys about Aaron Nesmith, my guys. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But he's on the playoff all hipster team right now. He's definitely showing out a little bit in Indiana.
The moral of the story is we just need to find guys that play multiple sports because God bless Pat Spencer and God bless Guy Santos. My God. Without them, I will be dreading these next couple of games without Steph. And that even after the win last game, I was just so deflated because we all knew it was going to be the second best statistical series sans 2019 Portland of Steph's career. It was going to be that easy. And who cares at this point? Just get a win. Get 2. I don't care. Just end the series quickly because everyone needs rest at this point.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about it just because we didn't do a pod on the injury announcement. Did you see Steph pregame? Do you see that? Sorry,
his press
at shoot around. The shoot around.
Yeah, where he's sitting down, and yeah, I did see it.
He sounded depressed.
Extremely. And I was like, you're obviously trying to read between the lines on everything he's saying. I couldn't really tell if it was more he was disappointed because he felt like the team was figuring it out and like they were really about to hit their stride, and he knew this was going to be a series for him to really just kind of like backpack them and essentially win this thing in 5 or 6, or if he's sad because he's like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be back for these playoffs. Like, I mean, he said as much. He said about both things. He said it felt like we were really starting to find our groove. And then he also said, with a hamstring like this, I've never been through it. And you can't test it too much. You can't push it too much. And he's kind of in the dark. He doesn't even have a timeline for his own recovery. And I can't imagine how frustrating that is.
Yeah. And like, I really think it's his own mortality. I think he's very aware this might be his last run. I personally do not believe that, but it would not be unrealistic. And I understand how hard he works. Like, that's the part that just probably gets lost in this whole thing, which is like, think about how many hours he spent in the gym when he knew his team was uncompetitive, just like praying they would make a move. That's like really what it is. Like, you heard when they traded for Jimmy, you saw the quotes like, they believe in us enough to do this, right?
Yep.
And
those hours in the gym are lonely, man. Like they're really lonely. Listen, I'm not fucking Steph Curry, but I spent a lot of time in the gym by myself. Where you're just like, you don't even know what the payoff's going to be a lot of those days. Like, you don't know, as just an athlete in any sport, you don't know whether all the work you're putting in is going to mean anything. And for Steph's level, for where he's been at, his perspective on that is he only wants to win championships. That's really all he cares about. And so he's sitting in the gym in the summer when he doesn't want to be there a lot of the time. Like, that's that constant battle as an athlete where you're worried about what somebody else is doing to get a leg up on you. Like, that's really, if you're pulling back the curtain, that's the mentality. And he did that for the last 24 months. And they finally get here. They have what feels like a favorable matchup for the first half of game 1. And then he just makes a simple move defensively and his hamstring goes. And it's an injury he's never had, and I think part of the mortality thing is that he's like, I've never had this injury before. What does this mean moving forward?
And also, like, I mean, no one's really talked about this, but like, the only other time he's really got hurt in the playoffs was 2016. And they should have won that title. He came back too soon. He knows he was never right the rest of the run. He played through it. So that's also on the back of his mind. The other part that's on the back of his mind is, okay, I avoided a worse hamstring injury, but now it's tender. I'm going to come back a week before I would in the regular season because it's the playoffs, because my team needs me, because there's very little chance this team's going to win this series without him. Your best case is you get it to 2-2, 2-3, and then you need to step back. And then there's okay, now I have to manage it for another, let's say we get through the Wolves. Now I got the Nuggets or the Thunder. I manage it through that. Then I got to, if we somehow miraculously do that one, then I got to manage it through the next one. And I mean, that's why they didn't win in 2016. That's it. That's the only reason they didn't complete, they didn't win a title in 2016, because he slipped on sweat and got hurt and never was healthy again the rest of the way. Didn't mean he didn't have good games in the playoffs, but like, I don't know, he didn't have burst. Like, we all saw it. Like, it's a real thing. There's no way that's not also on the back of his mind where he's like, even if I do come back, I'm not going to be me, like, that's a lot of heavy shit to carry on your head when you put as much into it as someone like him. It's very frustrating.
It's funny. The constant chatter is that, well, the Warriors have really benefited from injuries in their title runs. They got lucky. They shouldn't have won this one or that one or the other one because of this injury or that injury. They've also been hampered by injuries. And now this would make it 3 potential title chances. 2016, And then obviously in 2019, you had the KD injury, then you have the Clay injury. And now Jimmy gets injured game 2, round 1 is clearly not right.
Mhm.
And now Steph is injured too. So
Yeah.
as much as people want to say like they've benefited from injuries, they've had their when you make enough runs, when you're constantly in the mix, you're going to have stuff get messed up by injuries sometimes. And yeah, there's absolutely some PTSD and some battle scars that
And
he's
that's
fighting right now.
And that's probably the greatest argument for why seeding matters, because who's dealing with the least of that? OKC. Why? Because they ran over everyone for most of the year so they could rest guys down the stretch. They get a terrible Grizzlies side, 4 games. I mean, the playoffs are a war. It's very hard to win 4 7-game series with like Houston level physicality.
Yeah.
Even if you're young, you need a couple of those. These guys are done. Let's take care of them 4 to 5. Let's get a little rest because the team we're playing next is going to physically assault us. So I don't want to be defeatist because you never know what will happen. You saw with Ant Edwards tonight.
Right.
I mean, he's an ankle. His ankle. I was surprised they threw him back out there. Wolves fans, by the way, reminding me he kind of does the AD thing where he goes to the locker room
The
a lot.
LeBron thing.
Yeah,
AD.
AD.
LeBron doesn't go to the locker room. He just hams it up when he gets injured. You think his life's over, and then
No, AD. Yeah. But what I was saying is, that looked bad when he limped off. That looked bad, and you just never know how these things play out. So like, there's always the part of me which is like, just get him back, keep playing. You never know, if you're going to run into an OKC team who's just over the moment, and maybe that's your series to catch up on rest or that sort of thing. That's assuming the Warriors obviously get there, but like, yeah, I mean, there is a certain amount of, I don't want to call it luck, but like, you do need to kind of have the right path to get there.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of 2022, right? That team wasn't the youngest team. They had a lot of guys battling just like career-long injuries or battling age. Beat Denver in 5. Memphis was a tough 6-game series, but then you beat Dallas in 5, and they got like a week off before the finals, and Boston was in a knockdown drag-out with Miami. Like, that for sure benefited them, and by the end of that series, Boston looked more like a more tired, less energetic team. And I think, obviously, some of this, Steph was viewing this as maybe their series. And you never know. This could have gone 7 regardless of where Steph was at physically, even if he stayed healthy. But it felt like when they could win in 5 or 6. And then you can go into the conference finals relatively rested, as opposed to what they might have to enter it as now.
Yeah. That's the reality of it. All right. Coop, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? I've heard a lot. Good to see TJD and Kuminga play well. Obviously concerning about Moody and Pods, and the lack of a point guard on the backup is just killing us. I mean, I think before 2022, we always had Livingston to lean on. And I've always thought that, like, we always need a backup point guard. And, Jimmy hurt. He just can't break them off the dribble.
Mhm.
And I always want him on the high ball screen, bring, Rudy out so then we can bring him in. But he just can't break him off the dribble. But I mean, the biggest thing that's top of mind is the injury. Like, as somebody who pulled a hamstring in college, I came back early after 2 weeks. I know things have changed in 15 years, but coming back early is no good.
Yeah.
Like, the smartest thing he could do is to just make sure it's good. We need to get it to 6 games. If he comes back earlier, I mean, I just don't see it. I mean, Moody's lost. Spencer, I thought he would do well tonight, but I mean, are we really dependent on Spencer?
It's a fun story, but like, to your point, he was on a 2-way contract up until like a month ago. So,
yeah. I do think the TJD point is interesting though, about him playing better, and it got my wheels turning a little bit. I could see them maybe going with TJD to start to match Rudy number 1. And just to get Jimmy more of an advantage heading downhill, because that was some of Jimmy's best play when he was able to turn the corner on a dropping Rudy instead of, attacking kind of a stagnant big wing defender in front of him. So I could see the case for TJD too. I still think they go with Kuminga.
It also would, I just want to throw this out there.
Yeah.
It would also help Kuminga to put him in a very clearly defined, hey buddy, you're going in at the 5 to 6 minute mark, attack. We're going to take advantage of the second unit. Like, it's kind of like one of those, if you tell him what's coming, it's probably going to put him in a better position. So I could see it. I think I'm with you. I think it's more likely he starts, but I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys see them though, like changing the offense up? Because it seems like when Jimmy's in, they go ISO ball, but without him being able to go off the dribble, can they just figure out how to incorporate them into the normal offense where they're not depending him off the dribble?
I mean, they can't really run their normal offense without Steph. Like, their offense is basically, let's get Steph in the middle of something, watch 3 defenders freak out and fuck up the rotation, and then take advantage of it. So, I don't know that they need a point guard. My personal feeling is like the best thing Jimmy's bringing right now is decision making without turnovers. It's just like for what he's capable of, like, you want more than that. You want more than old man Iguodala play, which is kind of like what you're getting right now, you know?
Yeah.
Sure, but they're not getting the ball like into the offense. It seems like every time they get to the
No, I think you're cutting out on us. Tommy, you want to answer that? He's asking us, and they're not getting the ball into the offense.
Well, I think what they could do offensively is just shape it more around Buddy, like use Buddy as 2018 Clay. And he's obviously not that level, like, don't get me wrong, but that's what they kind of did to start the third quarter in game 1, is they went to more like old school Clay centric sets where they're running them off of like double wide pin downs. They're running them off of like down screens in the middle of the paint. And you try to create at least some advantage through just Buddy's movement and the threat of his shooting. Part of that is Buddy has to be able to make the read when he catches the ball. He had guys rolling wide open down the middle of the paint a couple times tonight and just didn't see it, and we lost the advantage. But that would be another way that you could maybe create some advantages, because Scoop was right. Like, Jimmy is not creating those advantages right now for whatever reason, whether he's just being passive or he's injured.
Yeah. Paratosh. All right. Need your shot. Let's get Gio back up here.
There's somebody on stage?
Gio's underwater, per usual.
Okay.
We do have a couple other people we want to get to. I'm just trying to do it one by one. What's up, man?
Is this shit working now?
Yeah.
Oh, thank
yes,
God.
but to be clear, you never had technical issues, so we're good.
He did last time.
I did last time. You tried to get me up here like twice, and it didn't fucking work. Whatever. Two questions. Number one, do you think Bleacher Report dislikes Steph? Because
they posted his face again.
Yeah, this time it was Buddy, Jimmy, and Steph, because I think they couldn't get away with just posting Steph because he was in street clothes, because that would have been, questionable. What was I going to say? So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be frustrated about this game, but I also think there's a lot to be encouraged about. Like, if I'm the Wolves, I don't necessarily feel great about this. I mean, yeah, they won by 24, and yes, they bounced back and had a good shooting night after the pretty embarrassing game 1. But I don't know. I think the Warriors, like you were saying, did discover some shit. And I know it's kind of a big if because it hasn't been proven to be the case, but if Kuminga can be consistent with what he did tonight, I think that changes a lot. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like if they can get one game over the next 2 in Chase, I feel like we have to be feeling great about that,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, number one on Bleacher Report, they're just engagement farming. They're trying to get as many clicks as possible. They know putting a sad Steph Curry on there is going to get people talking. But
I also, just to pull back the curtain, like, when you work in these type of places, there becomes a natural, I'm trying to think of the politest way to put this. Even if you don't like the certain teams, there tends to be a culture where everyone's like, well, we got to do this because that team gets clicks.
Yep.
It ends up in everything becomes Lakers, Cowboys, Yankees. account,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, no, I understand it, and I fully cop to falling for it every time. But I just had to bring it up because it's funny.
I'm no better either. So
Yeah, yeah, and then last thing, I feel like I don't know. I guess I would like to say I'm confident that Jimmy was taking this game as kind of a feel out game, kind of like seeing what he could do, seeing what was going to work before he goes crazy next game. Because I also do feel like he probably thought what Kerr did. We got one already. We took home court. I'm not going to try and push it. But at the same time, 13 shots, less than 20 points. That's not going to cut it.
Nope, not going to get it done. Need more for sure. So
yeah,
appreciate you, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Nigerian caller. So good trend today with Body continuing to shoot well, and this might not be my finest decision-making hour, but I think we need to keep Post in the starting lineup. I think we also need to include in the starting lineup, and we need to be spamming a lot of like maybe Kuminga body pick and roll or Kuminga post pick and roll, him going right. Like we need to try and get him shooting that midi from his right again, and then we can have Draymond and Butler on the other side, so like off-screen action, so that maybe he can kick early to like Jimmy coming off the corner, so that Jimmy can actually get into attacking closeouts instead of having to be the first guy getting into the teeth of the defense, right? And then Kuminga is probably getting an easier shot if Body or Post is the one screening for him, because you have to respect their ability to pop and stuff.
So you want to go big. You want to go Jimmy at the point guard, Buddy, Kuminga, Draymond, and Post. That's the lineup you want to go with?
Right. So we have spacing on one side, and then we have off-ball stuff on the other side, like, Draymond screening for either Butler or maybe Body on some second side action. Like something, basically you need to get everybody moving around. There's two shooters and there's two guys that can connect. And then Kuminga is attacking the basket hard or shooting his midi. That's what I think. Because Kuminga is the person that's showing any explosive offense, as far as I'm concerned, and Body possibly. So
this would essentially be the Giannis offense, right? But Kuminga tried to be Giannis. I mean,
yes, and then you need to give him quick out for like his driving, so he doesn't always go straight to the basket. Like you need to maybe drive home in him that he needs to be able to kick. So like opposite side to Butler coming off any off-ball work, or maybe any shooter coming off any off-ball work. Like, but you need to basically create that threat of, is he going to get to the basket, or is he going to get to his midi, or is he going to kick out for somebody else? And then you can now mix in some more Butler initiating by himself at the top. But like I feel like we need Kuminga driving into the teeth of their defense and getting everybody in rotation, so that other guys can like get free of that. As far as I'm concerned, that's the only way this is interesting. We know what this Jimmy thing is going to do. He's not really healthy. He's going to try and thrive, but he's not really going to lose anybody. So you need to take attention off him and then have him attacking closeouts and then connecting. And then the shooters are now just running around, finding open spots. But this actually frees up Body to more easily find space to pop and shoot, because the defense is not really thinking about him. Because some of those plays you kind of know Body is going to be the outlet. He's going to be the guy shooting. So you need something else to draw their eyes, draw their attention, and allow Draymond and Butler to find other guys.
Yeah, if Kuminga was that type of guy, he wouldn't have been on the bench. He doesn't make decisions well enough, especially against a big, long playoff defense. Like if he could do it, I would love to do it. I just don't have faith in his decision making with the ball in his hands, especially if he's like the primary initiator of stuff. I think more times than not, like sometimes he's going to get downhill, he's going to score, he's going to get to his mid range. He can find the open shooter. I'm not saying he's incapable of these things, but the consistency and the level that you need to do it at against a playoff defense, I just don't know. But
I also think
they can go to maybe against second units. I could see it working.
I also think the way in which Kuminga really got going tonight was by them just playing faster. Because if he gets into space, nobody can guard him, period. And so personally, I wouldn't go big. I actually like the idea of going back to Post, because Post is going to pull his defender out. Mm-hmm. And and it's going to open up the ability for him to get a one-on-one at the rim. But I think they need to go small, to be honest, like with Kuminga, because none of the bigs that Minnesota has can hang with Kuminga if he gets into space. So that's the way I'd go about it. But I appreciate the call, man. I don't think it's a bad
interesting.
suggestion.
It's interesting.
It's definitely good stuff. Let's see. Let's keep going. I get Paratosh up here and call it a day. What's up, Paratosh?
You guys are closing with me. That's the first. Too much pressure on me now. But I just wanted to start by giving props to Kerr. I wasn't here for Game 7 because I had worked the other day. But yeah, he was coaching like he was earning his pay that day. And on that same note, I think you guys mentioned that one of the next 2 games he needs to be coaching like Game 7. I think both games he needs to be coaching like Game 7. Like we really can't afford to like have any more of these. I understand today was a feel out game because he needs to find like the rotations that work, but now that we have found something that works, we just need to like roll the dice and hope for the best in the next 2. One more thing, Moody needs to find a therapist, I think, for real. that's the only thing that might actually help him. My question, I just want to close with my question about Steph. Let's say he comes back in 2 weeks, because like if we do win one of the next 2 games, we get Game 6 on the Saturday, I believe, next week. So that's almost 2 weeks 2 weeks of rest for Steph. I had never have had a hamstring injury before, so I don't know what it feels like to be back from one. But do we risk him again? And like even if he's not 100%, then what chances do we have in the next series, even if we do win this one? I don't mean to sound like a doomer, but if it's a hamstring, I really want us to be very careful with it.
I mean,
like,
we talked about this. We talked about this earlier. Like, it's not that you're rationally wrong. It's that sports, like, all you can do is keep trying and hope that it's going to break your way. Like, you're right. Rationally speaking, hamstring injury, 37 years old. At this point in the playoffs, you're probably going to come back too soon. It's probably not going to get better. What are the odds they can manage it and he can stay physically well for 2 rounds? Logical. You know, everything in that statement is logical, but you just never know the way it's going to break. Like in the second quarter of this game, I thought Anthony Edwards was done. You don't know.
That's true.
You just don't know what happens. You don't know if he comes back and they win the Wolves series, if the team they're going against in the next round is now depleted in some capacity. And that is the way in which you recatch your legs. Like like everyone always talks about, like to Tommy's point, everyone talks about injury luck. Go look at every team who won a title. They had a round that was a joke.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The Celtics last year, you know,
they got so lucky with injuries. Incredible.
The Denver Nuggets the year prior. I mean, they faced a Heat team that was on fumes and probably wasn't good enough to be there.
No,
anyway.
Jimmy, I think.
No, he played, but he was banged up.
Yeah,
and it was just the rest of the roster was just on fumes because they killed themselves to even get to that point. And that's one thing that makes me feel slightly optimistic is like, I think Thunder Nuggets going to go 7.
I could see it.
They're gonna.
Yeah, I hear you.
You don't know.
I guess
as good as Denver looks, and Denver's been my pick to come out of that series since before it started. Back to back, if they go 7, like I don't know what they're gonna look like. Like so, it's you can play the logic card, and like obviously more times than not it works out. What alternative do you have then to keep fighting and seeing what happens? Otherwise, like, yeah, let's just pack this up. Let's be like, all right, season's over, guys. Pod canceled.
No, I hear you. I guess I just have PTSD from 2019 when Klay suffered that mild hamstring strain. But to be fair, Klay did go up for a dunk, and I don't think Steph is doing that anytime soon.
Yeah.
So
the Klay thing was a cheap shot, but I think there's 2 things here, right? It's obviously what Sam's saying. Like, if you're here, if you're in this moment, and Steph said it, like, he doesn't know how many times he's going to be back here with a team that he feels like is good enough to do it. So at that point, you have to take the chance. And then number 2, I think that, again, like, I don't know if they're going to have the chance to do this again. And then I just think, I don't know. They do have a chance to do it. Like, they have a chance to win this thing. So you kind of have to go all in. Like, and if I trust anybody to come back from a bad hamstring over the offseason and to rehab properly, it's Steph Curry. Nobody takes better care of their body. He has the best possible personal trainer available. Like, him and Brandon Payne have been together for years, and they will tweak his workouts and get him back to the point where he needs to be for next season. So yes, we don't want to rush Steph back in any way, shape, or form, but I trust him to come to enter the offseason with the right mentality, with the right approach to get his body right again. So I think that's what it comes down to. They're in this space, and they have to take the chance. If Steph is healthy enough to play to where they feel like he's not going to risk really ruining his longevity, I think they have to go for it.
Yeah, and I will say I trust this organization on a lot of things, but the number one thing I trust them on is like, look, man, they're not like Steve Kerr's not going to fucking enter the training room with like Toradol and be like, Steph, you're like stabbing him.
He's not Tom Thibodeau. He's not running OG out there on a 25% hamstring like he did, like Tib did last year.
If he's out there, it's going to be because everyone feels comfortable enough with the calculated risk. Like, there's always going to be a risk of re-aggravation, particularly with that injury, but it's not going to be, Joe Lacob's not entering the training room with a needle being like, I pay you 60 mil, get out there, type of thing.
No, and people keep referencing. I've seen the Harden thing referenced a couple of times. Like, Harden came back on a hamstring in 2021, and he's never really been the same explosion-wise. Harden's been a very durable guy over the course of most of his career. He doesn't take his off seasons that seriously. He plays a lot of basketball. He's not doing all the specific muscle focused stuff that Steph is to get himself ready for this season. James is a classic, like, old school hooper. He's going to play a lot of ball, but he's not going to do very, very particular things to take care of his body. Steph is as anal about that as anybody in basketball besides maybe LeBron. So I trust him to get right no matter what the situation is. I
will also say Harden's game is so predicated on quick twitch.
Yeah.
Like, lull you, decel is now like the most popular term to use. Oh, he decelled. Like, but like you get the idea. Like, slow you down and then explode. So that was always going to be an issue with him as he got older. It's like, newsflash, you don't have the same explosion. It has less to do with the hamstring and probably more to do with 500,000 miles on your body and being 35 years old.
Yep. So. Exactly.
Okay. I say we end it there. I appreciate everyone. Spirited evening.